Hiya, boys and girls. We've got some good poetry today, which is not unusual, but it's an unusual reading today. Our first reader will be Susan Kelly-DeWitt, and this is her book. It's like your fifth or your sixth book. We've got a festival of Susan Kelly-DeWitt's books out there on the table. She is a former Stegner Fellow, that golden tribe. And this book exemplifies poetry in that it takes us at its best to places that are not just, hey, places that are not just beautifully described or beautifully argued, but places that exist only in the language of the Creator, the purely poetic spaces. Like the title, Frangible Operas, that exists only in poetic imagination.
Thank you, Richard and Joyce and everybody for being here, Art House Gallery. It's an honor and a pleasure, and thanks for showing up, everybody. Nice to see some familiar faces here, too. I'm going to read from three of my, can you hear me okay, my books? Just three poems from the previous two, and then a few more from my latest one.
Use the mic, Susan.
Okay, oh, so, okay. So I'm going to start with things that are somewhat political for the moment that we're living in right now. This poem is called Farmer's Market, and I wrote it September 16th, 2001. Not long after 9/11, obviously. Farmer's Market. We caught the scent of fresh lavender wands used for calming, along with the pervasive aroma of basil, the spiced fern whiffs of dill, the mix of peaches and torpedo onions, and later, at the crowded end of the aisles, the seawater pungency of fish, mostly salmon. The glazed eyes of the fish stared out blankly from their beds of crushed ice. We gazed seriously into one, unable to penetrate the isinglass surface where our own faces floated like trilobites in stone. Even the roses, not hothouse, but grown indoors in a family garden, laminated photos as proof in the vendor's stall, could not enliven the crowd's quiet mood. Most of us still tuned to the week of TV, those images of the burning towers, the planes vanishing into them, and the fragmented verbiage of officials. In blue jeans, in saris, in Sunday church clothes, in wheelchairs, in strollers, we jostled and buffeted, speaking English, Tagalog, Spanish, Mandarin, Farsi, bumping hips, knocking elbows cordially, wedging ourselves peacefully in to search for the ripest local honeydews, the fattest big boys, the plumpest figs. My voice is a little off. I'm sorry about that. Does it sound okay? All right. Poem built entirely of questions and couplets after Neruda. Who wrote the expository essay of the sky? If the sun is our instructor, what grade will it give us? Who is the dean of the galaxies? who are the regents of black light? And what is our moon revising with its white reflective pen? Is it composing a love poem or a lament? How many desert islands in the mind at 7 minutes until death? If we pry open the mouth of night, will we find 2 rows of uneven teeth? Isn't that what the old religions meant by the devourer? Who will the dolphins vote for on election day? How will the sharks cast their ballots? Will the grains of sand along the shore stand up to be counted? The same old sly barracudas fix the results once again? What is that tunnel of white light the fresh from the dead claim to have seen? How many watts is it at peak load? And when it burns out, who will replace the bulb? Who booked our passage to the graveyard? Is it true there is a border wall and we'll be lost there without a passport? And the last poem I'm going to read from this one is Neruda, is the title of the poem, and it's there's an epigraph. Is it true that an anthill dreams? Is it true that in an anthill dreams are a duty? Neruda. Today I saw the solemn face of a yellow jacket working a nasturtium leaf, gripping it with all his might, clinging to the life raft of scalloped green, sucking the last bit of moisture and sweetness from the 100-degree heat. But why was the thirsty ambassador to the penal colonies of ancient light so dressed up? What magus dreamed up his smidgen, his gold syrup duds, striped like a jailbird or trickster? Little prospector, his gilt lips provoked only rich questions. Just get a little more water here. Now I'm going to read 3 from my book, Gatherer's Alphabet. Calling the horses. You whistle, and they turn their heads. A roan mare pushes up slowly from the dusky pasture grasses. A palomino and a chestnut bay follow in sequence behind her. They move toward us without conviction. The mare's belly slumps with the weight of her unborn foal as we call to them across barbed wire. In our minds, we beg for the victory of their close looks, but they stop, refuse to look longer, turn away the grazing darkness of their eyes, fall back to each other. Wild oats silver the fields, blue bottles leap up along the roadside in 4 fringed colors. I stoop to gather a few wild panicles. The crushed juice of the broken stems perfumes my thumbs. It feels like beauty, the way the colors hold themselves out to be touched. Moral Bay sketch. I saw the comb jellies gleaming, beached ink and crystal in the sea wind's cold fire, and the egrets waiting, their sickle necks muscling under the quartz feathers, the beaks harpooning, working the weed rack and foam lip, juggling up a flash, a hopeless flip, an urgent splash of writhing through the sand grit and surf crack. Was there some calligrapher hiding in the cloud shift that wrestled and boiled in over them? Some itchy finger or twitchy nib that sketched them in, that outlined them all over with restless mercury? This next poem is called Brother Mockingbird, and it refers to the charismatic movement in the Catholic Church, which I was involved with in the 70s at one point. So this is Brother Mockingbird. Mockingbird, you speak in tongues, as I once did when I was young and traveled the circuits of the faithful strange. Was it your complicated song that rose and multiplied from the basement of St. Francis Church on L Street as your cousin, the Holy Spirit, descended upon the crowd? I suppose somewhere in the attics of time, the ghosts are still gathered there, arms uplifted, conducting spirit with electrified tongues. I must exist there also, shadow self, peal of atoms, the tempest in my mouth, a full blast audio, taste buds prickling with sanctified noise. Impossible to understand without some impromptu autodidact of glossolalia to step forth and translate. Mockingbird, good brother, you are a workhorse of a working bird this morning, hauling your hearty chapel of repertoire, your steady, hopeful stream of fluctuating trill, apostle of gloss, tail feathers pumping, holy lowercase unroller of song. Thank you. Now I'm going to read from my most recent book, Frangible Operas, and I have several poems here. I'll start with the title poem, Frangible Operas. Tonight the bells of the flowers ring out, 5 peals for 5 petals, the dusky throats of the mystery of blue flowers, crying out to be heard as you pass them where they glow in the center of a polished oak table. And if the table is a feng shui bagua for mapping one round section of this particular earth, these flowers are nothing less than the center of their own blue universe, breathing in even the deep blues inside you now, exhaling wholeness with their pollens and shadows. So loudly you stop, forget where you were going, toward a kitchen cupboard, a clear glass tumbler, the muted sounds of the tap. Hear only the flowers' blue chimes, their plangent xylophones, frangible operas. This next poem is called Gift Quilt Square with Artichokes and Stars, and it's for my daughter. And it was for a phrastic poem, essentially for a quilt. She does a lot of different things, but she was big into quilting at this point. Gift Quilt Square with Artichokes and Stars. Pinch the bud of looking back. You'll see she's hardy. All her honey sticks to the bee balm and hyssop colors, to the cuttings of deep green like basil and woodruff, with a ground cover of thick white stars. I think that her fingers on the needles were orderly and anise-scented, like sweet fennel. And look how she softened even the artichoke's central theme, pushed 2 repeating rows of barbed petals to the fringes, where they can't help blossoming like big peonies on black slabs of cheap duck. The center square is solo choke, the tough lotus unfolding, its head chopped off, so we stare into its silkiest well, a sage moon smudged with eclipse. It is my gift to look at and touch her trellis of tints, to imagine her path through the woods as even hand stitch, sewn like mail-order seed tapes along the wind-blown borders of dollhouse linoleum checks in shadow and lime, binding the whole together, fencing it in anticipation of wind, the unleafing edges, turning under what phrase. Excuse me. I had what many of us had, a long cold and it's left me with a little bit of hoarseness, so I'm fighting against that. This next poem is dedicated to my husband David and to his two brothers. Photograph of your father sewing needlepoint at precinct headquarters, 1956. His athletic body tilted back, his big tired dogs in their polished wingtips propped up on the cluttered desk. At ease, stocky index and thumb tugging the yarn taut, as though it was the most natural thing in the world for a burly detective, a tough Irish cop in 1950s New York, to design and sew needlepoint cushions for the parlor chairs, when only hours before, as the department's crime scene photographer, he'd snapped the cold postures, brutality crafts, all the horrors he hoped with every fiber of his being you would never see. One of the reasons I got interested in David was when I heard his father did love to cook, wore an apron, and did needlepoint. This next one I'm going to read because it was in Poetry Flash, and the last time I read in Berkeley, Dennis came to the reading. Dennis Schmitz, my beloved mentor, and so this is dedicated to him, Elegy for a Beloved Poet. We gathered together in the night, you with your tiger eye. The night was poetry. Your poems were skyscrapers. The moon and stars shone down on them. There was also a galaxy inside each window. We stared up at the staggering grandeur, a city at night built of your words. Some of us were dressed for the cold countries. Others had palm trees inside their hearts. But all of us were wearing the many-colored cloaks of astonishment. Where are you now, poet of the oceans, poet of the air, poet whose words climbed the highest mountains, dove into the deepest wells? I will hold them to my heart. I will live in your city of words until the breath is stolen from me. Gathered in the night, we saw the light inside you. Yeah. He was very much a beloved mentor to many. Let me just sit here. The Moon Bee. The moon bee is made of frost. She wanders the halls of underleaves at midnight and sucks the shine from silvered pistols. Her sting is quick, a frozen bite, iced venom if you cross her path like chance. Tonight she hums in a groove of shadow solo. She breathes the groves of deep song in. I'm going to read a few more. This one is called After the War, and it takes place in Honolulu, territory of Hawaii. So before it became a state, I spent much of my childhood on Oahu. My mother's family immigrated there in the 19th century. So we used to actually dig up bullets from the backyard where the planes had strafed the valley with machine gun fire during the war. After the war, we collected bullets and bees. We trapped them in jars, and when a bee stung me, I thought it was a bullet, hidden in a lehua blossom. I was wounded. We were all wounded in my grandmother's garden, in the bungalow's side yard with its thick rind of mud and leftover war, with the lehua's soft red spines. That's why we pretended to be wild horses galloping, mares whinnying, stallions rearing and snorting. That's why we coughed up Kool-Aid blood. We wanted to fool the neighbors. We wanted to show them what wounded meant to Portuguese immigrants, to the grandchildren of Portuguese immigrants. With hammers and nails, we punctured the jar's lids, ready to trap bees, which were really bullets after all. We made air holes so the bullets could breathe. Many years later, they tethered my grandmother to a chair in the mainland. It was after the poorhouse. It was before Medicare. They roped her up and tied her in. She had tried to run out the door to Hawaii. It was snowing. The trees were strange and full of traffic. The cupboards were lined with jam jars. Strawberry, raspberry, apricot, and grape. And on the shelves between them, many dead bees. It was the bees, my grandmother insisted, who had given their lives for their country.
Wow.
Sorry. This next poem comes out of my years teaching at Folsom and Mule Creek prisons, teaching poetry in the prison. I think of him as a victim, a veteran of war. Every day was the enemy in a household that thought children should be punished with barbed wire, belts, burns, punches, pinches, slaps, kicks, starvation. Where meth was the vitamin, sex was the money. Where poverty was the neighborhood, poverty was the country. And nobody ever called him honey until high school freed him to be part of something larger than himself, a gang. They robbed a convenience store. Someone got shot, killed. He did not pull the trigger yet. Here he is, 20 years later, life without parole, shaking my hand, smiling at me, thanking me for helping him learn one new word. Just, I think, three more. Tutoring center. When I was in high school, a friend of mine and I started a tutoring center at the migrant workers camp, and this comes out of that. Tutoring Center, Yuba City, California, 1964. Where a friend and I once taught at the Richland Housing Center, the rows of Quonsets on treeless lanes have been replaced by Kmarts and tracts. The heat is the same. I remember stewing in it with a do-gooder's shock at the mattress for 6 on the bare dirt floor, the unplugged icebox, the 4 kids chattering excitedly to us in Spanish all at once. Their mother offered rellenos, and we ate. We prepared to teach, named 2 made-over corrugated shacks, library, and school, with signs we scratched on poster board with black markers. We brought books, paper, pens, with the help of Mr. Alvarez from County Welfare, and we began, though some kids, even the youngest, vamoosed to earn and pick. Summer passed. Some college volunteers from Berkeley came, took over, and we became high school students again. That was also the year of drunkenness and despair. My father overdosed on whiskey and pills, and I turned to the church. Mass was in Spanish each Sunday evening, and I was lifted by the choir's labors, braceros whose ripe voices toiled to spill their gold for free. Thank you. 2 more. Confluence. In Sacramento, the American and Sacramento rivers meet, confluence. A mile from here, two rivers meet, two strangers talking river talk, befriending each other, joining hands for the long trip home. Those of us who live beside them watch their water levels rise and fall. In our dreams, we hear them breathing, and the currents become exhalations. Tonight we'll stand along the pebbled shore like herons and egrets, necks craned skyward as the wolf moon disappears into total eclipse. Blood moon. Rain will fall, storms will blow in, but we will stand there planted among the cattails and willows. We will think we are still dreaming when the ghosts of the mothers and fathers arrive, when they hold hands with us, singing. It's a good thing this is going to be my last poem because my voice is... Okay. So this is the final poem in the book. I'm going to finish with that. Psalm for Sunrise. Let starlight fade in the east. Let the horses of dreaming ramble home slowly from their sweet, dark pastures. Let the sun nourish us like wheat. Let me tidy the quilts and the flesh-scented sheets. Let my feet step forth gently and my heart pump strongly. Let the kettle cry out on its bed of blue flame. Let bee song and crow song rise. Let the sound of the waking city arise, and the day in its glory bless us.
Here comes Mary Mackey. Mary Mackey is an energy phenomenon. She has some 9 books of poetry, 14 or 15 or 16 novels. 14. 2 of them are under another name. I'm trying to think of a name to...
What's the name? Kate Clements.
Well, I'll skip that, but she goes all the way down in this burning world. She's all the way burning in the beginning of this book. It's a nightmare projection of where our president would take us with Burn, Baby, Burn. It burns, it hurts. And there are a section of love poems, a big selection of poems that take us up together, breathing each other's beings. It's a powerful book. It goes virtually everywhere, up, down, hard, soft. So let's give her a warm welcome, Mary Mackey.
Thank you, Richard. That was a great introduction. I appreciate it. An energy machine. I'll have to prove it, of course. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Harold, so much for having me here. I'm going to pour a little water. And after all, water is a good resource. I'm going to put this mic. Is this mic at the right place? I think it is. Okay. Well, this book is exactly. It's a very. This is not just a collection of poetry. of poems, of my poems, as my other books have been. This is a series of poems that relate together about climate change and about the possibilities of preserving joy and hope in the face of catastrophe, mostly by mutual aid and by reaching out and getting together. I think we're all siloed too much, particularly younger people. We get the algorithms, they push us into smaller and smaller groups, and I really think this is the time that we need to restore community and reach out and get together. And so this book looks at what's coming, and then it looks at some of the possibilities, and that's why the love poems are in there. It's not just apocalypse, it's love and apocalypse, which sometimes can actually be the same thing, as we all know. I'm going to start by, this is unusual for a book, but I'm going to read you the preface of the book because of the way the book is set up. And then I'll read you some poems. And, I've decided I'll give you some of the dessert first, and then I'll get into the harder poems, and then I'm going to kind of rearrange it a little bit. But first, the preface. So preface, Poems of Love and Apocalypse. Welcome to the new planet. The old planet, the familiar one we human beings have inhabited for the last 12,000 years or so, since the end of the last ice age, is disappearing. The glaciers are melting, the forests burning, the seas and rivers rising, the great winds blowing. What will the future be like? How will those of us who are young live in this new world, taking shape under our feet? How will those of us who are old describe what has been lost, so generations to come who've never seen an unbleached coral reef or a glacier can understand the earth we've left behind? There are no easy answers to these questions, but that shouldn't stop us from trying to imagine what life on the new planet will be like. And so I offer you these poems, which are about two kinds of burning, the burning of apocalypse and the burning of love. The apocalyptic burning is obvious. Look at any news feed, read any scientific study, and it stares you in the face. The burning of love is more nuanced. If we can't undo the effects of climate change, we can still choose to love and care for one another with passionate kindness and passionate devotion. We can burn with a determination to shelter and comfort those who have lost everything. We can choose to reach out to one another, create places where grief cannot enter, love one another as we love ourselves. And I'm going to start the book here, reading from the book, in the middle, because I'm going to start with remembering the old planet, because part of the hope comes from the beauty around us. Right now, we have a beautiful world, and I'm going to read a little bit about that. This is called Remembering the Old Planet. Fields of wheat, stalks bowing in unison, the shining scales of a cutthroat trout, the scent of wild fennel, the smell of dust and rain, the vibrating wings of a dragonfly as it conjures up rainbows with every stroke, a flight of blue macaws, a troop of golden-maned monkeys, a single live oak leafed with black crows against a blood-red sky. Let's embrace this all while we can. Remember it. Try to describe it to our children. The beauty of the old planet. Let's cherish the beauty of the old planet. Its tall glass towers and underground cities, long white beaches and soft forest floors. The way the sky arches over us, free of smoke so clear and deep it looks like the sides of a bottomless cup. Let's walk together one last time through its unburned forests, toward wild rivers that run to the sea, remembering cold spring days, cool summer mornings, snow that melts in our hands, ice that etches crystal leaves on our window panes, sidewalks we can walk on without burning our feet. This poem is Jerusalem Revisited. It's a take on Blake's poem, Jerusalem, which some of you may know. It was actually the song of the Labour Party in Britain. And the part of it goes, this is Blake, not me. Bring me my bows of burning gold. Bring me my arrows of desire. Bring me my spears, oh clouds unfold. Bring me my chariots of fire. I shall not cease from mental strife, nor shall my sword sleep in my hand, till we have built Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land. And this is Jerusalem Revisited. Today, just for a moment, I forgot which wars we were fighting, who had been shot, who had been slaughtered, who was president, and how much of the Arctic ice cap had melted. On a branch above me, I saw a sparrow who knew no history but her own, and for the space of 2 breaths, maybe less, I lay down my bow of burning gold and broke my arrows of desire. I knew people born 130 years ago. They taught me to feel the earth breathe beneath my feet, trace the furrows of a white oak with my fingers, slide my palms along the smooth trunk of a beech tree, crush a single wild strawberry under my tongue, walk west under a summer sunset that streaked the sky like frozen lightning. I will sing whale songs. I will sing whale songs. I will chant with the crickets and gather with the coyotes to praise the moon. I will fly with the owls, turn my head around backwards, stare at the stars with huge yellow eyes. This book has various parts. That's the beauty of the old plant. Part 2 is called Mocking Cassandra. And Cassandra, probably most of you know, but Cassandra was a priestess of Troy, and she had a fling with Apollo, I guess is the best way to put it. And for the price of that, she said, give me the gift of prophecy. He said, sure, why not? So he gave her the gift of prophecy, but he gave her the curse that no one would ever believe her. So all through Greek literature, Cassandra's saying things like, don't go in that room, it'll be bad news. And everybody goes in the room and they get chopped up. You know, it just goes on and on like that. So this is called Mocking Cassandra, because we've had so many people have known about climate change for at least 40 years, more than 40 years. My late husband, Angus Wright, taught about climate change for 40 years. And it sort of is just, you know, there's a failure of, an unwillingness, which I really understand, to look it straight in the face. So this is called Mocking Cassandra. They mocked her when she said cities would go under, rocks melt, oceans boil, birds fall from the sky, beaches be ankle deep in green foam. They laughed at her for laying in stores, filling cans with water, called her crazy, cracked, drove her from town to town like Mirabai in rags with a begging bowl. When she kept crying, look, it's getting closer. Wet bulb, 35 centigrade, brownouts, blackouts, famine, war, pestilence. People cooked in their beds. They shook their heads, rolled their eyes, put AirPods in their ears, watched the playoffs, bought virtual genitals, and hooked up in the metaverse, ate potato chips, smoked weed, shot up high schools, and made videos of their cats playing the piano. Poor, crazy Cassandra, they said. Hypervigilant, hysterical, neurotic. Just shut her up. She's spoiling the party. But she could see darkness, running around the rim of the horizon, see light blurring, see the end of dishes washed by machines, air conditioning, ice cubes, the easy way you could call people on the far side of the planet, hear their voices, see their faces, tell them you love them. I've spent a lot of time in the Central America and Brazil, in the jungles. I was very fortunate to see them before there was any intrusion or burning or anything like that. And so I have a number of poems that reference that in this book and other books. And this is called The Goddess of Burning Hair. The Goddess of Burning Hair. I am your fire dancer, your goddess of burning hair, your monkey gatherer, bird rescuer, rider of the great river, weaver of lianas, drinker of viper venom, keeper of the rainforest and of the margins of the rainforest and of the great drowned forests that sleep beneath the flaming trees. I can call down the stars that slither across your skies, move the 5 panthers that hold up the earth, summon the 6 jaguars that eat the moon. I can show you visions of your own destruction as easily as I can draw breath. Come closer, hear my prophecy. She who you trample will trample you. She who you burn will burn you. She who poison you will rise resurrected and outlast you. The ice will return, the pure air will return, but you will not return. I warn you, stop it. Stop it now. Full stop. This is the section, this is the In This Burning World section. And it's in almost science fiction-like, but poetic-like, of trying to imagine what it will be like. I think one of the big problems of communicating about this has been that people not only can't imagine it, they don't really want to. You know, there's a kind of, I mean, who can stand it to look at that long? And that's why there's also poems of hope in here, because I don't want to present a poison without an antidote. So this is called Pillar of Smoke, Pillar of Fire. Obviously a biblical reference for those of you who were forced to go to Sunday school and remember things. Pillar of smoke, pillar of fire. Such a short path. I thought it would be longer. I thought I'd be dead before we reached the end. But here we are, in the promised land of broken promises, limping across a bridge of ivory made from the spines of all the animals who've ever gone extinct. The green hills lie behind us. The drowned cities that were once our joy quiver beneath salt water and despair. Ice is not even a memory, and the forests sleep in charred tangles like petrified jackstraws. In front of us lies a desert that goes on forever. Its wind drives our breath, its dust chills our mouths, its sand burns our feet like hot charcoal. There's no peace here, no water, no manna, no golden calves, no books made of honey to sweeten our tongues, no commandments carved in stone, no gods waiting to save us from ourselves.
Wow.
Ashes. There was another planet once, a garden, an orchard, a joy, a cool green refuge filled with golden light that lay on our lips like honey. The sun has turned to blood. Our eyes sting, our throats are raw. There are ashes in our hair, ashes on our hands, ashes on our tongues, the bitter taste of ashes in our mouths. We hope if we die by fire, we will wake in a world where all this will be reversed. But when we stare into the river, the light that flows between the trunks of the cottonwoods eats at the current like a bank of red-hot flames. Leaving the city. We moved like swimmers who'd given up and slipped sideways out of time. We needed to look at the stars, but tall buildings had shattered the sky. Driven forward by a bitter taste in our tongues that left our stomachs empty, one by one, we stumbled down to the edge of the ocean where great waves were slowly eating away the land. Crystal Falcon. This has an epigraph. By the way, I went to a reading lately where someone said this is an epitaph. And I thought, well, no, this is an epigraph. Crystal Falcon. This is the epigraph. July 2024 was the hottest month ever recorded on Earth. National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. And it looks like 2025 is going to beat it. Okay. The Crystal Falcon. Heat shadows fall on the sidewalk, burning our footprints into the cement, like those gray silhouettes left on the walls at Hiroshima. A child chasing a ball, a dog pulling on a leash, two lovers spinning to face one another as a second sun rises over their city and the world goes white. On the trees, the ghost leaves dangle like mute wind chimes, and the earth stretches still and hot for as far as we can breathe. Over our heads, the empty sky hovers like a crystal falcon. Tell me, love, what sun-scarred thing will walk out of the glitter that is playing across the western horizon tonight like liquid steel? Memories of snow. Another epigraph. Snow cover across the nation is only at 5%, the lowest since records began. The Washington Post, December 3rd, 2021. Quiet as breath, cold on our lips as promised kisses. The sun shaped it into mounds of diamonds, spires of ice, ephemeral cathedrals. Today, the paths we wander down burn our feet. The rivers are dry. The grass is gasping. In the distance, the mountain peaks shimmer like steel. Tonight, as we sleep in each other's arms, dust will blow over us like a wind-borne penance. The Pantanal is one of the biggest wetlands in the world. I think it is, actually. And it's burning. It's really pretty wild that it's burning. I was there in probably 1992 or something, and you can imagine it burning. It's burning. And this is called, and so there's a little Portuguese in here. I've spent a lot of time in Brazil, but you don't have to know it. Just think of it as a chant in the background. It has an epigraph. In the Pantanal, the world's largest tropical wetland, 3,372 fires were registered from January to June 2024, a 2,000% bump from last year's 150 fires. The Montego Bay series, Amazon Conservation. That's a 1 year, 2,000 jump. Okay. O meio-dia, at high noon, the apple snails and marsh deer, giant river otters, hyacinth macaws, crowned eagles, maned wolves, bush dogs, caimans, tapirs, egrets, ibis, Anteaters, golden plovers, ocelots, and green anacondas, será dado, will be given, como un holocausto, as a burnt offering. Air will turn to milk, and breath will turn to butter. No prophet will stumble down from the Andes to save them, and no one will pluck manna off the burning cat's claws thorns. The great trees will sway and wail in the wind of flames that will lick their trunks like demonic jaguars, and a golden calf will dance around the people. The emperor contemplates his solitude. On an ice floe in Antarctica, an emperor penguin stands staring across a vast white emptiness mottled with golden light. As the emperor contemplates his solitude, his world is melting, and the lands his ancestors traversed on their long, ancient migrations are disappearing into a gray ocean of pearl-colored waves and opalescent fog. What does an emperor think when he feels his world disappearing beneath his feet? Does he struggle to imagine the cause, or does simply stand at the edge of this great catastrophe with a mind as empty and serene as a sheet of ice? Deep in the jungle. And as I said, I lived in the jungle in a biological field station with no roads. You know, they came in a plane, maybe to provision you, maybe if they remembered you. And so it was amazing to be completely removed from any kind of civilization that we know, just be another animal in the midst of nature. And, you know, if you'd bitten by a snake, it would have been all over. It was a 2-week walk out. So it just kind of changes you to be that remote, profoundly remote, and look at the way people have seen the world probably for 70,000 years. We don't see it that way anymore. Deep in the jungle, at dawn and dusk, the jungle sings. Its sounds pile up on top of one another, like the layers of a cake. The shades of its leaves float over our faces. Its frogs gather around us. Its parrots flock over us. And something huge splashes in the shallows of the river. Could we have learned to love one another better if we had learned to sit quietly until we could hear the sound of its leaves falling to the forest floor, blown up and down by the breaths of its trees, and the slow, steady rasp of its snakes coiling and climbing over prop roots and vines? What if we valued wildness over cities, water over fire, kissed instead of quarreling, slept in each other's arms night after night, flesh to flesh, breath to breath, wrapped in frog song and longing? I became frail and thin like lace. I became frail and thin like lace, rose up and rode the circumpolar winds, saw hope rise from the ocean in a golden column, saw orcas sinking yachts and tigers romping with their young, saw every animal that had ever gone extinct gathered in a heaven of animals, their souls as beautiful as a sunrise. Birds with no names flew south, carrying me on a carpet of feathers. Beneath me lay an earth utterly transformed. Forests that had been burned in flames of greed rose again like columned cathedrals. Reaching down, I trailed my fingers through their green leaf canopies, heard bird song, frog song, and the song of sap humming through roots and twigs like blood humming through the veins of a great mother. Reaching up, I plucked the strings of the stars and heard them recite a poem that spun off into space in shining threads of divine sugar. Your life is not the only life, the stars sang. Even the thing you have destroyed will return. And the birds without names flew on, carrying me south on a carpet of feathers toward whatever next came next. And the last series of poems, last poems I'm going to read you are a series called the Kama Sutra of Kindness. I've been working on this for about, a really almost too long time to admit. I think since about 1975 on, but it's a slow progression. And I figured we had enough books about, sexual positions, things that if you actually did them, you'd sprain both ankles in your nose at the same time, things like that. And I thought what we needed was a Kama Sutra of Kindness. This is the Kama Sutra of Kindness. The Kama Sutra of Kindness, position number 4, a delta of fingers. Near the end of a long day, when time stretches out in a delta of fingers, that grasps at currents and sand. We will lie side by side, listening to the cawing of crows and the sound of sap pulsing through the trees, wicking the willow wands back to life. After the endless eclipse of living, we will feel light course through our bodies again as we trace the geography of our flesh with our fingertips, outlining the continents of our shoulders, the hills of our hips, the rivers of our spines. Outside, bare twigs will click against half-budded branches, and a warm wind will rise and fall as we lie together, sheltering each other from the griefs that have scarred us and the sadnesses that have seemed perpetual. As the last pale sun of spring pours in through the blinds, gilding our faces with long golden bands, I will breathe in your breath, and you will breathe in mine. Position number 5, 2 blue-winged macaws. A river of molten glass paved with fine white sand, and on the far bank, 1,000 trees eternally burning, eternally throwing themselves into the sky. Look, we are 2 blue-winged macaws, frozen in mid-flight over a wall of green fire, strangers lost in the jungle of each other's bodies, lovers who don't want to be found. No past tenses. Your breath is a warm mist that envelops us, like a transparent balloon rising toward a sky so blue it bands the horizon with purple. You bend over, pick up a handful of sand, sift it between your palms, watch it fall in a silent pile between our bare feet. You brush my forehead with your lips. I smooth down your eyebrows with my thumbs, run my fingers through the silk of your hair. We hold hands. Take deep breaths. The current glitters and curls, the willow leaves blow silver, the dust on the far bank pulses and trembles, the river flows west toward the sea. Today, in this place that does not exist, in this afternoon that does not number hours, we know neither fear nor regret, nor what has happened, nor what will happen. Golden light surrounds us. We laugh for no reason at all. This is the title poem of the book, In This Burning World. In this burning world. On the long road down the hill, the cobblestones tip us like drunken sailors under a sky smeared with volcanic dust. At the bottom lies the sea, clear and pale as the skin beneath our arms. In this burning world, where we can never stop to rest, you reach out and brush the tips of my fingers. Our parched skin flakes off in tiny bits and floats up toward the sun, riding the great cone-shaped thermals of this slowly turning planet. We are 2 birds gliding through an empty sky, lost, uncertain, filled with unreasonable joy. Thank you. And I simply want to add that any books you buy today, all the profits go to Poetry Flash. And if you do buy them on Amazon or from the independent book group, which you can also buy them on, those profits will go to Loaves and Fishes, which has been taking care of the homeless since 1983. So I'm donating all profits from this book to charity. Thank you so much.